Hello, welcome to the Full Circle Theater Riverona stream. We are barreling, truly barreling towards the show. We have one more stream and then the show starts.
Yeah. When I did that math, do you think that was jarring for anyone? Probably.
Well, that's the thing about doing it bi-weekly and also the show being about a month away. Yeah.
Yep.
But
So actually, the show is a month away.
Yeah, the show's a month away. We being mostly Aaron and Claire on the more production side, sent out the tickets are now on sale. Got some sales, which is always good. That at least proves that the link that was sent out to everyone works.
And that's all that I wanted. I was like, I was talking to Kevin on the day I went live, and I was like, I just want someone to book tickets. Not because I want to sell tickets. I mean, I do want to sell tickets. I want to sell all the tickets. But specifically right now, I just want someone to tell me if it's broken.
Yeah, we just want to know if the link does what we want the link to do. which is hard to...
Because we do...
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say because we have a new ticketing platform this time.
We do. They're from what you mentioned about them. They're great. The proceeds.
Yeah, they're really
proceeds
good.
get donated, which is always a plus.
Proceeds donated to children's educational charities, so something that is very near and dear to our hearts. And they have really, really responsive customer service, which is great. I did somehow, when I was scheduling the show days, I did somehow schedule a show for episode 1 on May 23rd.
That makes no sense. That already happened.
Yeah, it was before tickets opened, so no one has been able to buy those. But if you look at our event, it does say that it runs from May 23rd to its actual last date, which is July 14th.
Well, at least the days they can actually get the tickets on are right. That's good, at least.
And you know what? No one is going to that link and being like, what? Like, no one's going to that link looking for the days.
And if necessary, we're always able to explain things like that. I had someone, jumping from just, we can talk more about the show, obviously, but I feel like this was in my head, I gotta say it. I had somebody mention to me that my setup's very weird because I have like light over here and then it's just darkness over there. And I do have other lights that I can put up. I just slowly accumulate them over time. The problem essentially comes down to is like, well, do I put them up here for the random times that I'm on camera to like give myself a nice view, or do I put them up like elsewhere where I can actually enjoy them?
Where they will serve you in the rest of your life.
Yeah, because I put them,
you know, though for the past 6 months we have been on here like every 2 weeks. Okay, that's an exaggeration. No, that's not an exaggeration.
No.
Well, for the past 6 months we've been on here every 2 weeks. That's not going to happen moving forward.
Yeah, so like if I put them up like there, I can enjoy them, but it is now when I'm on here, I look at I do recognize the shadow that is on this
But
side.
to be fair, there's like a walkway, a thoroughfare there, so that's part of why it's so dark.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just the rest of the room, so it does. It is
I can
dark
see the
there.
thoroughfare to the other area.
Yeah. You can see the exit. Got all my pictures
Mm-hmm.
that I swear just get crooked somehow. I don't know how.
They're better.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, when people look at MySpace, I'm sure they think I'm like locked in a small room somewhere.
I mean, it definitely is. It is just a corner with a bookcase in it.
It is just a corner with a bookcase.
What
that is a door.
It is a door.
Which I'm not going to open.
What no one knows is that if you tilt your camera back, there's stairs right next to you.
Right here.
Yeah.
I live under the stairs like Harry Potter.
The there. I don't know why that.
I am in a tiny hole, so.
Yeah.
People's impressions of this hole that I'm in is not wrong. It is a hole.
How are you? How are you feeling about as we enter into the month before show?
On Sunday, I felt amazing. Like we were so far ahead, and I had never been this far ahead. And then today, I have been spiraling wildly.
Yeah.
For no rhyme or reason. We had an awesome relationship. We had an awesome rehearsal on Sunday. We got so much done.
Yeah. I mean, potential reason, but like things. That's the like just. Things move so fast. The fact that we do these once every 2 weeks means that I have to take a moment and think back, like, okay, so what has progressed over these last 2 weeks? And a lot has progressed. A lot has happened. Mm-hmm. At this point we have, I think, with like 1 or 2 potential caveats, we have at least done every scene in the show in a rehearsal. I think it was like like 1 or 2 caveats.
There are 6 scenes from episode 3 that are scheduled to be done tomorrow. Like we are not behind schedule doing them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then everything will have been touched except for a couple of caveats. Perfectly on schedule, so that we have fight choreography on Thursday.
Yeah.
And then starting on Sunday, we're gonna figure those fights out. Spoiler: Goofy is the direction we've given to the fight captain.
I have heard that our fight captain. Here's a bit of a spoiler. I've heard that our fight captain's very excited to choreograph a nut tap.
Yep.
So that
does happen in the show. A nut tap delivered by an unconscious and or dead person? Maybe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them in the show. I could be talking about anyone.
One could even argue a meta nut tap. the thing that's, speaking of doing it all, like, hitting all the scenes, doing all rehearsals and that, is I've explained to people, I've talked like, so it's these 4 episodes. We are doing a night of 1 and 2, a night of 3 and, or well, not a night, like a week of 1 and 2, a week of 3 and 4, and then we got our binge watch week. And they're like, oh, that seems like a lot to do. Like yeah, on the production side, it's a lot to do, but like when you look at what individual people are in, it's not because it's a TV show. It's an ensemble cast with just like storylines, and when you really look at it, you're like, oh, I'm not actually in a whole lot of this episode.
Honestly, I'm not in a whole lot of any of the episodes, despite the fact that I think I play what one would argue is a lead role.
Well, me and you essentially have, well, like any TV show. So this is going back into a bit of when we were writing it. I know at least what I was trying to keep in mind as we were working together on this was that, I don't know if you could hear it, but someone's starting to mow outside.
No, I cannot. You're
cool.
Okay.
Good, then I will keep going and just ignore it on my end.
Oh, Kevin, that sounds like a demon. Get out of that house. It was whispering. It was like, oh, me.
It's faded away now. What was I saying? Something about? Oh yeah, the episodes we're in. When we were writing it, we were looking at the fact that when you see a lot of these shows, and it's just a good way to write serialized stories, you'll have episodes that are kind of like, this is this person's episode. Other people will be doing things in that episode, but like think of the OC. Oh, this is a Seth episode. Oh, this is a Marissa episode. And obviously we're still getting stuff from Summer and, of course, our favorite blonde boy. But we are focused on...
Did you forget Ryan's name?
No, I just called him my favorite blonde boy.
Because he's our favorite blonde boy.
Yeah, he's a blonde ne'er-do-well.
And there are no blonde boys in Riverdale. Only blonde grown men who are murderers.
Yeah.
Blonde grown men who are murderers. Chuck and Chip.
I guess there's not.
No, Chuck? No, Charles and Chip.
Yes. Yeah, there are no blonde boys because the blonde is a girl. So yeah, so there's that. So like we have something where it's like there's an episode which is more of Tybalt's episode. Or
but even the Tybalt's episode, I don't have a ton of lines because I mostly glower.
Yeah. It's
which is great for me.
It's not non-verbal acting.
Face acting.
Yeah, face acting. Which I always like that. I'm potentially the person who moves the least in this show. I know we're not tracking it. Well, no, sorry. With one exception, that being, of course, Lord Capulet or Captain Capulet.
No, he moves a lot now.
Yeah,
slowly. But slowly.
Yeah, but he goes and plants is really the thing.
That's true.
It's hard that. Not like we're tracking how much people move, but
we are now.
I'm
gonna make that into a reel. No, I'm not. I don't even know how I would do that.
Oh, we would have to record everyone.
We have to put step counters on everyone.
Yeah.
And then people would have to submit their steps.
I mean, step counters are a lot easier now because like a lot of people have.
And in phones.
Yeah, if you carry your phone around with you. So I mean, this is an interesting thing that I think I've seen a lot more of, and I think maybe it's just a thing you see on TV. A lot more people carry their phones while acting.
Yeah.
The thing the reason why like I think sometimes I don't find it super weird is because especially if you're playing a modern character, your character does have a phone. So like it gives you it fits in. I would always put mine on. So when we were doing episode 1, I did have times where I acted with I chose to use my phone as a prop because we're in the real world. People are on phones. I put mine on.
Phones are an important part of the show.
Yeah, I put mine on airplane mode, so it was still on, but I wasn't like doing anything. But I'm like, it's just something I was just thinking of because I remember seeing like things from like TV where one of the actors' phones goes off in the middle of a scene. I'm like, but I can kind of see it in some cases.
Yeah. I mean, I acted with my own real phone on stage with Claire in a play in 2011, and I actually texted her on stage, so it would make text noise.
Yeah, and like if that's...
Why did we do it that way? Sweet summer children, just get a sound effect.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing about doing it that way, though, is that that makes the sound come from the phone itself. It does make it be a bit more
I
real than
know.
if it like bound, like you hear a sound from up above. Uh, and
Actually, we
some
used.
things, sorry, yeah, some things like that works for them. It's good for it.
Mhm. I was going to say we used my real phone in Shakespeare's Heroines as well because I have the
Mm,
actual pictures that were actually taken on it, and it was set up not to be silent, so you would get like the typing noises.
yeah. What would be? Do you know what would be a real good thing to just exist, and maybe it does exist in some capacity? Like just a small. I'm sure it does exist. Actually, not the more I say about it, but I would like it to be cheap because I imagine they're weirdly expensive. A small programmable just noise device.
Oh yeah.
Because because your thing there's like, oh, I'll text when I text her, it'll make the sound of a text coming through. And when I heard that, the thought was like, well, what if like it doesn't come through quickly? What if it takes a while? What if the network is slow? What if
Oh,
like,
yep.
yeah.
We
So if
we worried about all of those things, but it was 2011.
Yeah. So if you just have like a little device that you can just change whatever sound it is, and then it's just someone just triggers that sound wirelessly, or even not wirelessly, just have their hand in their pocket and just click it, and it makes a dun.
Especially because it doesn't even need to come from the person where it's coming from. Like on stage, it doesn't matter if the other person is doing
Yeah,
it.
but even if it just comes slightly off stage or like whatever cases are, there is just a
Yeah.
difference between it comes from the speakers and it comes from a place on stage, and that it makes it a bit more real. I'm sure that does exist in some
Hmm.
capacity. It's almost because it's phones have speakers, tiny little speakers in them.
Oh my God, I'm just having like brain things now because I'm
Thoughts,
now
thoughts. Those are called
remembering.
thoughts, Aaron. Aaron, those are called thoughts. You're having thoughts.
Am I? Am I?
I'm having brain
Because I'm
things.
now thinking that I'm like 90% sure that for porcelain dolls, I think we put a Bluetooth speaker and Claire's phone in the bathroom stall. So if there were ever flushes, we played it from that.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. You probably all doing. We have to
Yeah.
put the phone in. The Bluetooth speakers have a pretty wide range these days. I still think that we could do
Mhm.
some pretty good light things using things like that or like this light core because this is Bluetooth.
Yeah. So you could
Um,
can do some like
yeah,
fun things.
I say this like we are the first ones ever think of this. I know there are plays that do that they just have
It's
wireless
a new
lights.
area for us. We're
Yeah,
learning.
yeah, because just turning on something wirelessly, nice. I think if you go to like really fancy theaters, I think their lights they're probably not all wireless. I think they'll be
Mhm.
very because they're mounted. Why not have them be
Why
corded?
make
Because
them wire? Yeah.
it's just more secure. But I'm sure they have like ones where it's like this is a far off light that's really far from the board. This one is
Mhm.
wireless because it makes more
It makes
sense.
sense. And it's cost savings and repair
Yeah,
savings and all of those things.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so tech is one of the things that is causing me some stress with this
yeah.
show. Because we have, so I feel like I'm like someone's mom who is about, or no, I feel like I'm like a drama teacher at a drama camp who's going to crush small children's dreams. That we are not actually going to do the movie of Indiana Jones, and a rock is not going to roll over you because it's a play and we don't
Yeah.
have a pit. I feel like I'm like that teacher for our production because
Well,
everyone keeps our directors keep having these like grand vigiosh. What word did I mean to say there?
vision, grand
Grandiose
visions.
vision, probably.
Yeah, the thing that makes sense.
Anyway, everyone keeps having these wild visions. They're not even that wild. They're pretty small, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can do that, guys.
Well, yeah, but like
We're in a high school gym.
that's kind of like the role that you exist in as like showrunner producer. So when um my theory usually with working on things is that it's one person's job to be grandiose, have grandiose visions, and there's another person's job to narrow those down to reality. Because because I think if people approach Yeah, I think if everyone's approaching from bottom up, if everyone's approaching, let's get as close to the line as possible, then it can sometimes be hard to. Then you might be leaving an entire gap of where you can do some pretty amazing things, but
Mhm.
everyone's scared to like see how high they can go. As long as the person who's having the grandiose visions is amenable to the being pulled down, there is definitely the people who are like, "No, this is the vision I've had, and this is my great vision that can never be pulled down. We'll just figure out how to do it." Uh, I think I think having two people being able to like push it to the like so you can find the limit
Mhm.
is a good creative endeavor. It's better to want the world and discover you can only have a house than to ask for a bed. Despite being able to get a house. Like,
Look at you making that analogy.
yeah.
I will say, I think I actually live like very much in this place.
Mm.
One of the things that I brought up like again and again during our creative process, and on like almost anytime I have to speak ever, is the idea that constraints cause creativity.
Yep.
I think it's when we, you know, live here that we have to figure out how to make here look like this. And so I think that's one of the things the full circle theater like prides itself on, which is kind of cool. Um, that being said, I do think we have some elements of the play that are currently living here
Yeah,
that need to come
they need to get pulled down.
to here.
But like it's knowing that they do need to get pulled down.
I mean, I know they need to be pulled down, and just because no one's listening to me right now does not mean that I'm not developing a plan for when people are on my side.
Yeah, just it's about like, presenting that information that no, it's where you
No, like actually.
yeah, it needs to get down more. Yeah.
That being said, I did win the most important fight. And the most important fight was no swords near the audience.
It's good. It's good to have.
You keep those swords in your sword pocket until you're on the stage.
Sword pocket.
I don't know who these people are. I don't want to scare them.
Yeah.
No swords near the audience.
Yeah, I mean, even blunted swords are still long metal rods swinging off of your hip when you are not used to them swinging off of your hip.
Having a long metal rod swinging off your hip.
Yeah.
I can say, as the person who plays Tybalt, who has a sword almost all the time, and she loves it, Kevin, but I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, they stick out further back than I think your brain recognizes.
Anyone realizes.
We're not used to having tails.
We are not used to having tails. And we lost that part of our reptile brain.
I mean, I
Monkey
think
brain.
also. I mean, no. I guess if we came from apes, they were not really known for tails. So I don't know if at any point in the long evolutionary line of humans there was tail. I don't know. I don't know enough about the evolutionary chain.
Yeah, where are anatomists at?
Yeah, why aren't they in the
audience.
show? Why aren't they in the
Tell
play?
us more about anatomy.
Yeah. No, it's
What are the anatomy jokes in this play?
I mean, there now.
Okay,
To be fair, there are anatomy jokes in this play. The anatomy. I mean, yeah. I think there's also
they anatomy jokes, or are they biology jokes or chemistry jokes?
Yeah, it's a very scientific play. I do like how there are definitely jokes in the play, and I think we've said this when we were doing 1 and 2, which are a joke for one person. And I think every comedy, if anyone out there is writing comedy, have jokes in there that are for one person. There are certain jokes that I say are almost throwaway jokes. They're jokes that I understand someone might not laugh at them. So you can just keep going. There are other jokes that are punchline jokes where the flow of the play does kind of require someone to laugh at it.
Because there's an abrupt change of topic immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, that also is fine. It's you're writing for an audience that will react to it immediately. It's
Totally.
and actually, if you watch comedy movies or TV shows, it's not as obvious, but they do have pauses for laughs, even if they don't have an audience.
Laugh
It's not gonna
track.
be like super clear. It's not gonna be a very obvious moment. But there are moments where the pacing changes a bit with the hope that a person at home is laughing at it.
Which, I mean, I think that's, to talk about that, that's one of the next things we're going to start layering into the play.
Yeah.
Because everyone already gets it. They get their blocking, they get mostly their motivations.
Yeah. Man, rehearsing comedy, having
It's so
mostly
hard.
yeah, having mostly written comedy for like stage plays, written comedy, and but acting been predominantly not in a lot of comedy. Like we did Persephone. Like I'm thinking of my acting experience because I did
Yeah.
Persephone, but then Winter's Tale, just some like small roles on like television. I did Comedy of Errors in high school.
You did Our Town in high school,
I did Our
also
Town in high
drama.
school. Yeah, and like
And like,
I mean, I guess when I did comedy acting, it was like filming sketches with friends. But like that's not like being on
mhm,
stage and doing that. And because it's like sketches, you're not writing them in the moment, but it's a lot of doing that in the moment. Rehearse the point of this. Rehearsing comedy is so weird because we spent these first time just going through it, trying to make sure we all knew lines and blocking and where we were, and just accepting some things aren't going to be funny right now because we're trying to memorize our lines and where to stand.
mhm.
Eventually, hopefully, there will be more. I mean, we don't get me wrong. There are a lot of laughs going on in there. There are discovery moments. To
Sometimes someone does a karate chop
Someone does a
with a
karate
roundhouse
chop.
kick
Man,
or
yeah,
reasons.
yeah. Once you can drop the scripts out of hands, it gets so much better. I don't want to, obviously, I don't want to spoil anything, but I just will lose something. There's a scene when we were rehearsing on Sunday, a scene between me and Joel, the person who plays Benvolio, that I'm so excited to do. It is such a ridiculous scene, and I am so excited to do that one more.
It is nice to get to do scenes with different people, right?
It Yeah, it's nice to get
Like, this is your only scene with Joel.
yeah, well, essentially, I mean, it's also like because of the character that I play, and where my role is in like the grand ensemble of the show, being he's not the same. He's a principal, so he's older than pretty much everyone else except for the other adults, and all the
Mhm.
other and the other adults suck. So he's not he's going to be spending a lot of time
They
with them.
do.
I don't get a lot of scenes that's me talking to like having a one on one with a person um,
Mhm.
until late in the show because all the earlier ones it's me existing as authority figure, talking to a group, uh, or managing like people. So it's not a
People.
lot of being able to do a moment with one person. So that scene is very nice to be able to do that, and I think that might be one of my. I mean, no, I did another one with Megan playing Juliet, which was quite enjoyable for just one specific moment, but it is a lot of a lot of that. Sunday was here's the thing,
Right?
Sunday was a lot of me. We just sort of did a lot of my because I'm pretty heavily at episode 3, so
Mhm.
I had a day
Mhm.
where I got to play around.
And like the more we're rehearsing this, the more I realize that we wrote, like I actually have scenes with a ton of different people. I don't really interact with many of them
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
I spend a lot of time like talking past people
yeah,
and ignoring people, and then subsequently being ignored by most people.
yeah. I mean,
It is a weird journey.
yeah. I mean, you at least you have a fair bit with Juliet and in one, and then in 2, yeah, you kind of have your own little adventure going on because of your own little
You know,
motivation.
I don't actually interact with Juliet that much in 1.
No,
Just the, like, way that things have shifted.
yeah, well, I mean, and also because once again, the specific role that you exist in as being, kind of the queen bee of the school, the way you talk to people is very different. It's like if you watch, Mean Girls or anything like that, that kind of interaction is very different, especially when we're doing like an ensemble. Like if we had a full season of 20 episodes, then there would be a lot of, interacting with people and seeing things like this. And we're coming in at technically in the meta, the end of a season. And the end of like a couple seasons means we're skipping over all of that interpersonal getting to know each other. Everyone is just kind of assumed to know each other, which is very fun. It's a very fun writing thing. It's a very interesting to see. But it does mean the characters we are playing are ahead of where us as actors would be playing those characters.
So, I mean, the other thing that we need to do in this upcoming time, which we absolutely have time for and will do, is we kind of need to send our actors away in groups to have discussions about their past and decide what happened in the other 4 seasons and build that world, because they're not going to build it on stage. The stage just like doesn't have the scenes.
Yeah. And we allude
for them
to
be
it.
able to build that in front of the audience.
There's a lot of allusions to it. Watching Riverona is a lot like playing Dark Souls. Or Elden Ring, I guess, is actually very highly popular. If you want to know about the past, you have to read the item descriptions. Or in this case, you have to hear someone mention that me and your evil twin adopted a cat together. Like that is how you know what has happened in the past.
Oh, it is true.
There's a lot of lore.
I would like our actors to go develop their own pages of lore that they literally never share with me.
Yeah. There's
have.
Yeah, there's overarching things that are mentioned, obviously canonical in the show. But the thing I always find with doing this like meta show is that canon is fluid. Like the idea,
yes,
because we've had people ask, "Oh, what is this?" And I'm like, "Well, it's unclear on purpose." Like the joke the joke that comes out of it is unclear because the idea is that it's supposed to be a thing that alludes to a larger aspect, where if you know if you know it in context, it's not funny. It's hearing it out of context that makes it funny. When you're talking about like this is a joke that people would have seen if they went and saw episode 1 either at the Remount or Common Ground. The swim team trafficked drugs is a canonical thing that is said.
It is an event that happened.
Yeah, the swim team trafficked drugs.
We had aliens, but they weren't aliens. They were just the swim team trafficking drugs.
Yes. So that is a wild sentence to say. But when you try to be like, well, but what does it mean? You're like, well, that destroys the joke.
The Don't
joke
worry,
is,
it means what you think it means.
It means exactly what you think it means. If that is one of the things where like there's no we can come up with the story around that. We can do that. We could do it right now. But that takes away from the joke. The joke is not
fun.
Because if you were watching this show and you had watched in season 2 when that storyline happened, and then she says that, you would be like, yes, I do remember that, in fact. I do actually remember.
Oh, that was dumb.
Yeah, that was you're kind of maybe you're hanging a lampshade on it. I don't really know the tone in this scene, but I do remember that happening. Versus when you hear like this and you're just like, wait, what? Hold on.
What did she say?
We're gonna need to take a step back there. And I think that there's probably no better time for us to transition to our idea for this episode, because it kind of goes along the line with that looking back at things. And
look, y'all have had a We're Siblings sandwich at this point.
Yeah.
Because it was us, and then the center sandwich was also us playing Hades, and then the end of the sandwich is us.
Aaron, this is 3 pieces of bread. You're describing a loaf of
Kevin,
bread.
I am out of practice with developing metaphors
Okay.
because
So
we
here,
haven't done this thing that we're about to do for a long, long time.
yes. So then let me begin with welcome to Mystery Outsiders and Abs. I'm Kevin Weir.
I'm Erin Weir, and this is a teen drama fan cast.
Yes, it is time for me and Aaron to return to an old friend of ours. We, together for 7 years, did. We watched all of Riverdale as it was coming up. That Riverdale is
We talked about it
yeah.
on
Riverdale
the internet.
is one of the inspirations for Riverona. I mean, you can kind of tell from the name, even though the name is actually a really good thing, is Verona. It's one of the inspirations. But we thought since we're coming up to it, might be a good time to maybe journey back. So what we did is I randomly rolled. This is kind of almost a combination of Mystery Outsiders and Abs and the third space where we also did a lot of random rolling stuff. I randomly rolled a season and an episode from that season, and then Aaron and I watched that episode to just like see. Wait, it's just a random episode.
What was going on?
And see what was going on. Now,
What did we remember? Did we remember anything?
And
how do we feel watching it now?
It was quite fun just grabbing a random one and being like, oh right, but this is it's so weird because we know the future and kind of know the past. The show is so good at just gaslighting you
and tricking you
into not really knowing what happened. I've never seen a show retcon itself so fast, like in the same season. It's not even like hiding information, like, oh, we just didn't reveal it. It feels like a full-on retcon.
They're like, that didn't happen.
We changed our minds. Like,
I've always made rum.
I'm like,
it's always had a rum business.
Like, that's fine. Retcons are retcons are so fine. The one thing I remember now, like talking about this show, is how much the show makes me be like, explain something, and then have to explain, but it's not that specific thing is bad. Like retconning, that's not bad. It's perfectly fine to be like, oh, we're going to kind of adjust what happened before to make it suit what we wanted to do now. The only way to explain why Riverdale the way it is the full encapsulation of the show. No part of it exists in its own. Yeah.
It's the culmination of all of the things that makes you feel like your brain's melting out of your ears.
Like watching this episode, if just taken out of context, I was watching this episode and I was like, you know what? Most of this, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Good show. And then I'm like, right, teenagers, and also like just earlier there was like a bunch of like other weird stuff going on. It's that when you look at just scenes, take a scene out of place and you're like, yeah, that's good. It's well shot, it's well acted, it's all of those things, and then you have to see the context of it.
Visually stunning.
Yeah. So which one did we roll up? What we rolled up was complete good. When I was rolling this, I rolled a 2 out of 7 seasons, so season 2. And then I rolled 2 more 2s, which means we are doing episode 22 of season 2, which is the season finale of season 2.
And season all don't know about Riverdale. Season 2 is the season where the show made a choice.
Yeah, season 2 is the serial killer season.
Because at the end of season 1, it could have been just like a kind of niche, kind of vibey, Twin Peaks feeling-y Riverdale Archie adaptation. But they went hard into gang warfare and mafiosas in season 2.
It's thinking about 2, 3, and 4 exist in a very weird space because after that, things get wild. This is probably a good time to mention, by the way. Obviously, there will be spoilers for Riverdale.
And we can't promise that the spoilers will end with the episode we just watched.
Oh
We're
yeah,
just
no,
going to talk about
I'm gonna make it
Riverdale.
absolutely clear. It's not just spoilers for this episode. There's gonna be a entirety of Riverdale. So if that matters to you, that's the state where
Get off this call, I guess.
I put up a nice little text box. Just gonna sit up there to let everyone know. Okay, so.
Wait, did you actually make a spoiler text box?
Yeah, it just says spoilers for Riverdale, so people hop on, they'll see that.
Oh my god. I'm obsessed.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay,
sorry.
so season 2, episode 22. These, as I said, 2, 3, and 4 kind of exist in a weird space because they progressively, while staying kind of in the realm of possibility, and 5 to an extent, I would also say. 5's after the time skip, so it's kind of weird. They exist in the realm of possibility, but just hyper dramatized. And these are the ones that are always the weirdest ones, because something that we said the entire time we've ever talked about Riverdale is that this show doesn't seem to ever know if it wants to be campy and soapy, and that's kind of the bit, or if it is taking all this very, very seriously. And you could argue that the first necessitates the second, but there are episodes that if the first is true, then the episode is in bad taste. Like when they do the episodes about sexual assault, or the episode
when
about
they do the
racial
Emmett Till episode.
Yeah, the Emmett Till episode, which was season 7, or any of the ones that are like very much like social messages. Then if you take the first thing as true, then it makes those ones very uncomfortable, because you're like, no, but your thing is that you are hyper dramatized cheese, but this is like, you're trying to put out a real message, but one, you're also doing it poorly. And two, you're doing it poorly.
And if y'all ever listened to Mr. Outsider's Nabs, if you ever did, if you ever will, this tone thing is certainly one of our big issues, because we never trust the show to handle any topic it brings up well. And like, I've re-listened to some of our old episodes recently, and you can just like hear us like gripping the arms of our chair, being like, when's the other shoe going to drop? When are they going to fundamentally not understand this issue and somehow be offensive?
Yeah, the weird thing, not the weird thing, the thing about some shows is that there's always a trust building time. A time when the show essentially does things to make you feel like, oh, I understand what the show is going for. Like something that comes up a lot, especially when we're talking about media analysis, is a depiction does not equal what's the other word? Just because someone shows something does not. You gonna say it?
I mean, they agree with it. A depiction, it's not condemnation. It's the other.
Yeah, for some reason the words go. Yeah, does not.
It's the opposite of condemnation.
When you get so many words.
Depiction does not mean approval.
That's what. Yeah, that's probably close enough. It's the. I'm always a fan of stories or shows or anything that will just have a character sometimes do really bad things, because that is what that character does, and the show doesn't need to necessarily condemn it. Like this show has a lot of, especially this season, I think we talked about a lot of it. This season has a lot of criminal activity, which is fine because they're criminals, and that is interesting. And even when the good people do it, that's interesting. Or, you have good protagonists. I shouldn't say good people. The protagonists do it. That is interesting. But there takes a level of like trust, that I trust that the people who are doing it aren't actually endorsing those things, or at least thinking through the capabilities of it. And we have seen repeatedly this show do things where they will choose something as morally wrong just based on the bad person is doing it. I'm like, well,
and when the good person does it, it's fine.
Yeah, it happens a lot with Veronica, it also happens from Veronica. Like it's that's why it's almost infuriating. It's almost a meta-ness to Veronica herself feels that same way. Where if I do it, it's fine, but if my dad does it, it's evil.
Right? Or, if we skip forward again to season 7 and we think about like Tony forcing Cheryl out of the closet, but it's okay because they have true love.
Yeah, that's fine. That is fine. Yeah, there's a lot with that. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about this episode. We're gonna try to, as much as possible, talk about the episode with branching off when we need to, because that's part of the fun of it, is we've seen the entire thing. Uh, so this, just a quick summary of this entire season. We'll touch on things as I think they pop up, but this is kind of what the last time on reminded us of. We were hearing about the fact that this season had the mayoral race. We are coming in just after Hal Cooper was arrested for being the Black Hood on what they will call Riot Night, which also was when there was like Hiram was setting up a battle between the Ghoulies, which is another gang, and what's their first name? Peabody.
Penelope.
There's not Penelope.
Penny Peabody.
Penny Peabody.
It's Penny.
Penny
so
Peabody, who even in this season is still I still don't get her. I don't get her thing. She's like a serpent. I don't know what
her goals are.
Who was a serpent lawyer, but like working with her is dangerous. So, but apparently somehow that they're going to be like an assault between the Ghoulies and also their corrupt sheriff and the serpents. And right before this, Jughead essentially sacrificed himself, being like, I'll go with you.
I'll go with the Ghoulies if you don't attack
the
serpents.
But then, which, first of all, this is, I completely forgot this in season 4. Yeah, in season 4 when we actually saw it, because season 4 was the one that had like the Secret Society. We have 2 Jughead death fake outs in this series.
Oh, I forgot about that too. This show loves to make us think Jughead is dead and actually kill Archie.
Because last episode, I guess this is just remembering, ended with FP like holding Jughead in his arms. Because I guess when Jughead gave himself over to the Ghoulies, they just were going to beat him to death, and that's what Penny Peabody thought they did. She said he wasn't breathing when I left. She beat him to death, but he did survive. And then
a grown woman and a bunch of grown men, beat a 16-year-old boy to death.
I think some of the Ghoulies are teens. It's unclear.
The Ghoulies might have been the one gang that only had adults. It was led by the British guy, Malachi.
I don't know. But
also, I hate to tell you this, I think you're wrong. I don't think Riot Night was the night that Jughead sacrificed himself. I think Riot Night was the night where all of the serpents were getting kicked out of school or something, and there was like racial warfare. Because season 2 is when they were an indigenous gang, and General Pickens tried to kill them all in the past. Remember, it was something about Fangs assaulting Midge, but he didn't actually, and then Dilton, and then Fangs gets shot.
That was much earlier in the series. They do think that Fangs is dead here, but I think Fangs' death is what kicks off Riot Night, which I think was the one before, because that's also when the whole Black Hood thing was going on. Because they're sort of doing the Ryan Murphy style. I don't think he's the only one who does, but he's the one who I think the most prominently of it, because he does it the most I think hyperbolic, with like the most aggressively, which is your story kind of resolves in the episode before the season finale, and I think because this last episode where Hal was arrested, and I thought that was right. It doesn't super matter when specifically it happened, but the point is that Jughead got at whatever last episode was, got beaten up, and now he's in the hospital. And then we learned that like off screen, I guess him getting beaten up did trigger the serpents to try to attack the Ghoulies, and anyway, so the serpents got wiped out.
Although we will find out in like 37 seconds, not 37
No,
seconds, but like
halfway through the
15
episode.
minutes later that maybe
Now,
not.
well,
We'll
now,
do this in order.
I will say this. I do think FP is kind of. I mean,
Being hyperbolic?
No, I don't think he's lying. I think he just doesn't count those people. So essentially, FP, who is Jughead's dad, leader of the Serpents, says that Jughead getting beaten up did, make the Serpents want to attack, and they had to follow the Ghoulies, and a lot of them got fought, and a lot of them turned over to the Ghoulies. The rest left town. I do think what we're supposed to see. And also the trailer park got all burned down except for Jughead's trailer because they can't get rid of that set. They have that set.
No, they need that for years.
Yeah. I think that essentially he's just being like, yeah, there are like serpents around, but the serpents is gone. There's like 20 of them at the White Worm, and he's like, I don't count those people. To be
fair, they're teenagers.
I think
like when we see them, it's mostly the teenagers who are left.
It does, yeah. It does look like that they have been culled down to the teens because the teens are. It's hard for them to leave. But yeah, so we got a few things. They talk a little bit about Riot Night, which was they wanted to trigger the fight between the gangs, and this does kind of explain why later in the series the Serpents are a lot smaller. And I think that's worth mentioning. Just in the first seasons, they were just bigger. There were just more of them. Which is why
they were
probably
more of a gang with more adults.
Probably at least one of the reasons why Jughead becomes the leader and Cheryl gets to join is because there's just not. There are 10 left. There just aren't any of them left anymore. So what? Weirdly enough,
to be fair,
yeah.
No, you finish.
Weirdly enough, that solves a lot of things for me. I'm like, oh right, I forgot they were decimated.
Later, they make it very clear that this is a national gang at the level of like Hell's Angels.
Yeah, but I mean, the Riverdale chapter was wiped out, so they could have left and joined. I mean, we could have left and joined the Toledo chapter.
We'll talk about Toledo a lot in season 4.
Yeah. So this is after Betty's dad was revealed to be the Black Hood. We get reminded that who we've called Luke Perry Andrews has been running for mayor. Same with Hermione Lodge. So this is a question I have for you, Aaron. Was Hiram Lodge running for mayor at a certain point, or is it that Hermione Lodge runs for mayor, then she's deposed, then he becomes mayor? I don't think at any point he was running for mayor. Was it? Why is she running for mayor and not him? Other than people don't like him, I guess.
Okay, well, they were. I think earlier in the season, Veronica liked her mom and didn't like her dad. But mom and her dad were working together.
So when they first arrived in season 1, it was Veronica liked her dad and Hermione didn't like him.
Right.
And
then neither of them liked him.
Well, at some point in 2, yes, I think it's in 2.
Neither of them liked him. And then he came back, and there was that morning where Veronica came to breakfast and her mom and her dad were sitting there, and Veronica was like, Hermione was like, you did this thing, tisk tisk, Veronica, shouldn't go against your dad, and you drank my champagne, so awful.
Oh right, yeah, when Hermione snitches on her daughter. Hermione is so interesting of a character, not as a character, but in the way they wrote her, where they clearly are, I feel like that they were clearly trying to go for the like mob wife. She's obviously not. She's not going to leave because the life is so. Because like you can't.
Enticing.
Well, no, you don't leave your mob husband because like.
No, you don't get out of the family.
Because then you don't have security and you don't have things like that. But in this season, it did reveal that she was also like she had her own lieutenant and is the one who actually remember this season was when Archie was in the mob. She like inducted Archie in the mob. Remember they met at the edge of a stormy cliffside and she's like, actually
she had all her capos.
Yeah, I'm the one who's. So I'm like, okay, so no, you are also. You're not mob wife. You are mob.
You're mob boss.
Yeah.
2 mob bosses.
Which to me just sort of get like, but then they every so often try to like put it back to like, oh no, she is like sad.
She's
Which
she's a sad wife. He was a bad, mean husband to her, and she's like using the abused wife stereotypes,
yeah, and like
which is offensive.
yeah, and it's fine if that's what she's doing as a character. But this goes back to what we're talking about trusting the show. It feels like the at times the show is being like, oh no, we can forgive her very clear ties to the mob because we're also doing these times where she is also like sad mob wife, but they're not
Because
interrogating
did
any
you
of it.
know, audience, did you know that Hiram has a daughter with a different woman from a time where maybe they were married, maybe not?
Unclear.
The unreliable narrators of the show have made it unclear what the truth was.
Yeah. All right. So as we go along, we're gonna get filled in with a few things. At least for me, they're me getting filled in, and so I'll fill in the audience as well, I suppose.
Perfect.
So because of this, okay. So yeah, Luke Perry Andrews running for mayor. I guess slowly we will learn that all of the people who are running for student council, because that's a fun juxtaposition, are also going to drop out.
They're all dropping out.
Veronica maybe has the worst reason. Like, you'll hear Reggie, where I think something happened on. I think I remember this. Something happened on Riot Night, which just proved that he's not the leader he thought he was. So he's, he was like, he was really ramping up the like, yeah, let's get those Southsiders, and then I think he was belittled and realized that what he's doing was terrible.
No, that happened because the football team or basketball team, whatever they are, fought the Southsiders earlier because Dilton Doyley brought a knife to a baseball bat fight, and then he maybe stabbed himself. Impossible to say.
Yeah, but that was so long ago. I think on purpose that didn't resolve anything. I do think there was a confrontation on Riot Night where someone was trying to burn down the school, and like Jughead, I think, helped stop it. But it's actually, whatever the specifics were, Reggie was somehow humbled, so he doesn't think he can do it. Josie's mom talked to her off screen and said, hey, you should be a singer, which is her entire storyline is always her mom comes in and says, actually. Betty, obviously...
Actually, no singing.
Yeah, Betty actually... is pretty much like, well, now that everyone knows my dad is a serial killer who at least killed one of our teammates or one of our classmates and tried to kill another one and killed other people as well. Not very well, honestly.
He was the worst killer.
Yeah.
He killed so few.
Yeah,
but Kevin, I don't know if you remember this, but they were running in pairs.
Yeah, I know.
So one of them was running to be president. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So, and because she's not running, Jughead isn't running. But Archie will keep running.
Even though his partner dropped. And one would think that Jughead couldn't keep running because the Southsiders are being transferred away from the school.
Yeah, but they were talking about this before they learned that was the case. Like, him and Betty talking about the student council thing was before they did the whole... the Southsiders are leaving thing. So he didn't have that as a reason. Eventually that became his main reason, I imagine, why he wouldn't run. I mostly wanted to bring up that Veronica's reason not to run is because she says helping Fred beat her dad is a full-time job. And then I would argue she does nothing.
No, Veronica hasn't. Well, I mean, Veronica really thinks she does something.
No, but she does not do anything that makes me say this is a full-time job. Literally, when she gets something, it's given to her. She stumbles upon something. She does no work that means she can't also be student body president.
Especially because she's not even going to be president. She is just running for president. She will not be president until next year.
Yeah, it was.
So this whole thing really takes no attention.
No, I love her reason for not doing it is so funny. All right, so
I also love that Veronica, a teenage girl, is like, I'll be the piece that takes down my dad in this mayoral election. I'm the piece that will make. Did you know my mom's going to all of these places to do speeches? So I booked you into all of the same spaces, immediately following her.
Veronica.
Okay.
The thing about the Veronica-ness of it is the fact that Veronica could be such a good character in the sense that like she's a bit narcissistic, she's self-aggrandizing, she's all those things. However, the show constantly backs her up. Like when
Hmm.
she says like when she's like, oh no, I'll be the piece to take my dad down. The show's like, yes she is, and yes she will. She's so
That's the
it's
thing.
she it's so weird to see a Mary. I don't really like the term Mary Sue. I think it's thrown around way too much. Um, uh, it's weird to see a Mary Sue not in a original property. I guess it's not. It is
Because
technically a fan fiction, but
But she never fails because of her flaws,
no, she
which is
fails.
like the point of a main character. You fail because of your flaws, and then you
It's just
get over it.
it's just she constantly says things that feel functionally impossible, and then the show goes, yeah, but she can do it because we're the writers.
Well,
uh,
okay, this is like kind of no. Actually, I will be good. I will be a good podcast host. I will not skip all the way to the end of this episode.
yeah, no, we'll get
But
to the
functionally,
episode.
when she fails, it's not because of her.
Oh, we'll have a lot of talk about that specific scene. So, some things to keep in
Yeah.
mind about this. So, how the Black Hood was arrested, but there was made clear that there are multiple Black. There's at least a second Black Hood. We know there was at least also the one that originally caused Kevin, like Sheriff Keller. He wasn't a Black Hood though. He was a guy who was, what would you call it? Framed for it. It was the janitor. Remember?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and the janitor was not a Black Hood.
No, but he was like there during like the original crime spree of the original Black Hood, who is Hal's grandfather. But there is we know for sure there's a second Black Hood because they were the ones who shot at what do you
The
call
mayoral
it?
speeches.
Yeah, at Hermione, and also they were the one. This is very confusing to me because I forgot about this. They were the ones that attacked Fred, Luke Perry Andrews, and Archie Andrews the second time at their house. Hal was
Yes.
the one who shot Luke Perry Andrews at.
Yes, and then the copycat also did it.
Tried to attack the house. That is.
Yes. And
I was very confused
because
they
recognized
mentioned.
the eyes were wrong on the second one.
I do think he's and I think people were like, "Well, you don't
Yeah.
know that." I was confused because they mentioned that like, oh well, probably it was Hiram had hired like Minetta to do that because they said it's definitely Hiram. Hiram's not the one in the mask, but he's definitely like doing all this
Behind it.
Yeah. So they're like, oh well, because they would have done it because Fred was running for mayor and that would have scared him off of being mayor, or they would have done anything like whatever. How were they meant to do it? The whole mayor thing. I'm like, Fred wasn't running for mayor in last season. I'm like, oh. It's because there was a second time that he was attacked.
Yes.
Yeah. And for some reason
Yes.
now... Sorry, yeah, go ahead. You finish your thing. I was
No,
going to
you
move
go
on to the
ahead.
next scene. I'm moving on to the next scene. So,
Let's do it.
because for some reason, Archie has to identify Hal.
Because Archie's the only one who knows what the original Black Hood's eyes looked like. Archie's the only one who can know.
There are zero chances that will ever hold up in court. We put a hood on him, and so this guy said, yeah, that looks like him. You put the Black hood on the guy. What is the purpose of this?
Well, luckily, Hal Cooper is kind of a Hannibal Lecter. Now that he's been caught, he is going to talk about what he did all the time.
I'm also reasonably sure they caught him red-handed.
Yeah.
This season, oh, by the way,
did the eyes look right?
It is worth mentioning. This season it's not even mentioned in this episode. This was the season with Chick in it.
It was.
Because she fed the Black Hood to Chick, and then her first idea that the Black Hood might be Hal was she went home to her mom and realized and asked where her dad was, like why wasn't he there that night, and so she's like, why isn't my dad here when I gave Chick to the Black Hood, which we learned in season 3, the finale of season 3, when that
Hal
Chick
did not kill him.
No, he instead decided, this guy can also be a murderer.
It was a different mutilated boy.
I mean, no, they learned that as soon as there was a mutilated, but they're like, we found a mutilated boy in the woods, and they went over, and then he's like, that's not Chick. I'm like, yeah, but there was still a mutilated boy in the woods. Should we do something about that?
I just forgot that this was the origin of the mutilated boy.
This was the origin of the mutilated
boy. A thread
boy.
Which will never be picked up, even though we knew that Riverdale people listen to our podcast.
You know what? I think this season was mutilated boy. I think we just know it wasn't Chick. So like a chick's still kind of like in the air
Yeah.
somewhere. But I do think this was mutilated boy season. Oh god. All right.
Yeah, it's this early, Kevin.
All right.
Okay, so meanwhile, while this is going on, Cheryl is busy getting emancipated from her mom and making crazy Nana Rose, who's a liar, her legal guardian. The person who will do that, not Mayor, Lawyer McCoy.
Yes, despite having a good season and a bit of having both Sheriff Keller and Mayor McCoy, they do get dropped in season 2, and then we do continue to call them Sheriff Keller and Mayor McCoy because that's who they are truly meant to be.
Well, and to be fair, Sheriff Keller keeps becoming the sheriff over and over in different time periods.
Why? I can't remember how Mayor McCoy. I remember how Sheriff Keller became not Sheriff Keller. I think he actually quit after he shot the wrong Black Hood, but I don't remember what McCoy's thing.
Oh, would you like me to tell you?
Yeah, do you remember what it is?
Because her affair with Sheriff Keller got revealed.
Right. Yeah, it is all Keller based.
I think Cheryl may have done it.
Yeah. So Cheryl becomes Nana Rose's ward, who we will learn later is knows witch things. Nana Rose's lore goes weird. In the first season, she was slowly being drugged, which is why she was in a not lucid state most of the time, because she was being like very like poisoned very slightly
by Clifford.
Yeah, I think it was poison, but I don't think it was meant to kill her. I do think it is just poison.
No, it was just to, just.
But I think it was poison.
Her, I guess.
Wasn't it? I don't know.
Oh, was it? Was it Clifford or was it Penelope? Because didn't Penelope learn poisons from the Sisters of Quiet Mercy?
Yeah, but that's not canon until season 3.
Okay, so it was Clifford.
We don't even know a lot of things. Speaking of
this season also had a surprise twin reveal. Twin reveal!
Yep.
Claudius!
We do get Claudius, who will survive for a fair amount of time before he's killed again. We do have the scene, we do first see Claudius, who is the twin of Cheryl's dad, who killed himself after we learned that he was using his maple farm to traffic heroin down from Canada, and he killed Jason
his son
to protect that secret.
Yeah, so his son wouldn't reveal it.
Also, big shout out to season 1 where they use the word heroin, which will ruin a lot of things, because we know that the heroin is because he was also trafficking Jingle Jangle, was it? Or was it? It was Jingle Jangle at the beginning, right?
Jingle Jingle first, then
Fizz.
They're not Pop Rocks. I mean, they are Pop Rocks, but
Fizzes or something like that.
Fizz Rocks?
I don't know. But Jingle Jangle was the original one. It was the Pixie Sticks. We do learn presumably because they were the ones doing the Jingle Jangle, and he was trafficking heroin. Jingle Jangle is just edible heroin, I suppose.
It sure is, which the show doesn't seem to understand, because they treat that drug like it's all things.
Oh, no.
It's an upper, it's a downer, it's a hallucinogen. Jingle Jangle is here for all your drug needs.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the retcon. Like, they essentially are just ignoring the fact that it was heroin, but I am... Was it go with the show kind of tricking us? I am 95% sure that in season 1 they do say heroin. Okay, so
they show it to us. It's heroin. It's bricks of heroin.
Yeah,
maple syrup.
But it could just be vague drugs. But I think they use the word heroin. So, we see Claudius, we see Penelope conspiring with Hiram. For some reason, this does scare Cheryl so much he has to hide in a bin. I guess.
Yep.
It feels to me like Cheryl would just be like, "What are you doing here? Who are you?"
Right? She doesn't like any of those people, and they have no right to be on her property anymore.
And I don't think she's in necessarily a position where, like, oh, this is dangerous for her, but whatever. So we do get to see also this the start of the... Ooh! We got someone joining us.
Oh,
Yay!
Hi! Hi!
Perfect time. So we're going through our watch of Riverdale Season 2, Episode 22. So now you get to react to this live. Have you watched any of Riverdale?
I have, but I only made it partway through season 2. I think I got it was right around Betty's striptease where I was like,
cool. Cool.
I'm out.
So, we're not going to go back over what we already did. You're just going to have to start following along, but now you get to be
bring it
our
on.
reactor. So, first of all, hello, welcome, Sarah.
Hello.
I think it's your first time on the stream of this version of it. Or you have been on the first one?
Version of it, yeah, because I'm usually teaching at this time. But my last 2 students of the day were away today, and so I got to come home early and I get to come do the stream, which works out really well.
Cool.
Yay.
Yeah. So we were just talking about the fact that Cheryl Blossom has now become the ward of Nana Rose, who eventually does witch things. I can't remember how that specifically works. And this is the start. This is the start of what's going to be a very ongoing storyline for Betty Cooper, which is the fact that her father was a serial killer. So now the whole Cooper serial killer thing is just going to be a whole thing that always continues.
And if you were wondering if Riverdale was going to take a side on whether serial killer genes were real or not,
they did.
They will decide it's real. It is nature. Despite the fact that Betty's serial killer brother only shares one parent with her, and it's not the serial killer parent.
Yeah! If you are going to say the serial killer gene is real, the serial killer gene comes from the parent who is not the serial killer. So how does that work in your weird thing? So this will be fun for you to learn, Sarah. When we first learned,
Betty's mom, Alice Cooper, framed her dad for the whole thing and like brainwashed him.
I felt there sometimes where I was close to doing that. They do in season 3 allude to the fact that Penelope actually triggered Cooper's Hal's like turn into Black Hood. Like the mom set the seeds, and then Penelope like blossomed them when he stayed at her house during the season. I don't know.
I forgot about that. That's right.
Yes, it's worth mentioning, Sarah, so you know. When they first learned about the serial killer gene, it was told to them by a cult leader. This will be spoiled. By the way, I put up a sign saying spoilers for Riverdale. So it was set up by a cult leader who was clearly just trying to. He was clearly trying to trick her, and like he's a cult leader. He's manipulative.
Yeah.
He has lied about so many things, but for some reason the show just expected the audience to think that one thing was true. Like why? Yeah. Because
everything else they have him say, or they have his like acolytes say, is a lie. But
except
the fact that Betty has the serial killer gene, true.
Yeah, the thing that frustrates me the most about it is the fact that when it comes up again, it's said like, well, you know you have the serial killer gene, Betty. And me and the audience, I'm like, no, we didn't. That came from a liar. A liar said that. What? Hold on. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean we know that?
Crazy.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Betty's quite sad during this episode because she, at one point, while talking to Fred Andrews, will say that I should be a great detective. And I'm like, no, Betty, you should be a teenager.
You should be 16.
Yeah. There's a lot of sad
stuff. It's not your fault, Betty, that you, a 16-year-old, didn't figure out that your dad was the masked serial killer.
Yeah,
You're 16.
Well, also, here's the thing. Is like, I feel like a great detective when you're 16 is you're really good at like social media stalking your best friend's crush. That is what a 16-year-old great detective looks like. He's not solving real world problems.
No, right from now, admittedly, she at this point has already solved one murder, so she's got a bit high on herself. She's like, I've solved one murder, I can solve another one.
I can solve all of the murders. Therefore,
this series was really aching for one person to be like, you're teenagers. And they almost have that, I think, in season 3. Remember the guest episode, which actually has a therapist come in and give everyone like, that's 4. No, that's 4 because Jughead comes back from his private school and gets a bit of it. But she doesn't do it well. It's not really a lantern hanging at all. And at least one of them, I think she gives really bad info. Oh no, she tells Veronica she wants to have sex with her dad. Electra
Which-
Complex, remember? Electra Complex? Yeah.
I mean, she does though.
It's really weird.
Maybe.
No, Electra Complex. So we get a few things rolling through here. We get that Moose is sad because Midge, who was his girlfriend, was one of the only successful actual deaths by this serial killer. Depending on how far
and
you
not
got
the first time he tried to kill her. The second time.
No, so in case you
took a grown man
Yeah,
2
that's
times
right.
to kill a teenager.
Yes, yeah, Sarah. In case you don't remember this, with the serial killer, the Black Hood in season 2, he wasn't great at serial killing. He kills Miss Grundy in Greendale. He kills the Sugar Man, but then he also tries to shoot both Moose and Midge at point blank range multiple times, and they both survive. So he doesn't have a, and then there's a lot of other times where he just doesn't succeed in killing people. So he's not the most
effective serial killer. He maybe didn't get like, you know, the S tier serial killer gene. This is more like the D tier.
Well, because he didn't have it. So Moose is sad about Midge. He kind of rebounds into Kevin for a bit. And that's kind of we get the end of it. We won't see them again for this episode. We just sort of set up that Kevin and Moose might actually now be a thing. Because, you know, of rebounding, and definitely not in a healthy way, but I don't think the show's necessarily showing it that way.
I don't know that any of the relationships on that show, from what I remember and what I saw, were healthy.
Yeah, but there's a difference between what the show thinks is healthy,
wants you to think is
and what is healthy. Like, I would argue that not a lot of them are. I think Betty and Jughead are actually fine for most of it. Cheryl and Tony are the worst, and the show doesn't seem to accept that. It kind of puts them as like, you know, they're toxic for each other, but isn't that great? And it's like, no.
It's like,
no, it's not.
No.
They're actively bad for each other.
You know who are actually good couples? Grown up Archie and Betty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for when he lets his mom get in his head about kids.
Yeah.
And Jughead and Tabitha.
Yeah.
When she's not an angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for season 6.
Yep. No, season 7 is when she discovers she's an angel.
They all become teenagers forevermore.
So she didn't become an angel? She just has always been an angel.
Well, it's unclear. It's unclear.
Hard to say.
The first time she may be an angel is in season 6 when she has time travel powers and she meets an angel, because everyone has powers, but it seems like hers are from an angel.
Hers appears to be from a different path than everyone else's.
And then
whereas everyone else is like witchcraft.
No, a bomb blew up under a bed with 2 teenagers having sex.
Then a man wrote the stories of a different world.
Well,
no, and that created.
I think legitimately what it was is that when the
that I was sitting here really thinking that my Mercutio headcanons were getting a little like outlandish. They're not outlandish enough. What I've decided, I need to go back to the drawing board. I need like a Principal Prince style like board in my room of like, this is Mercutio's backstory. I'm gonna need to like have like a randomizer come up with like insane scenarios. That's what I've decided.
The thing is that you're setting up as backstory, and what you're not considering is that in 2 seasons from now, because once again,
have to deal with that.
Sarah, we're going to continue with this episode. This is the backstory to what happens later. So just to clarify for you, in the future, in a few short years from this, everyone will gain superpowers and travel back in time to be teenagers in the 1950s. And Tabitha Tate, who is not a character right now, will become an angel. So Reggie is not going to run for student body president. Josie's not going to run for student body president. All the Southside students are, I guess, getting kicked out of the school because they're taking the blame for the riot that happened.
No, they're getting transferred to a different school, and this one storyline is almost realistic.
Yeah,
it's Riverdale.
Yeah, and then this is where Jughead learns that there are actually some serpents of the gang still existing at the White Worm, which is the hangout that they
the bar.
We get a lot of news being shared. Cheryl's entire role in this episode is to share news with people.
So Veronica finds out from Cheryl that her dad has been meeting with the Blossoms, the bad guy Blossoms who did bad guy things this season.
This is what I meant when I said earlier that Veronica quits running for student body president because she has to spend full time helping Fred become mayor, and the only thing we see her do act at all is get told by someone else that her parents are conspiring, and then go and confront her parents.
And confront her parents, she does.
Amazing.
She confronts her dad, and he's like, "Well, it'd be cool if you had power or money or something." And then after he leaves, or then Veronica accuses him of arranging the shots during the mayoral electoral speeches, which obviously he did.
And we
she doesn't actually make any good points, but her mom believes her.
We get a good sad. We mentioned at the beginning, Hermione's very confusing because she's a mob woman, but they treat her sometimes like mob wife. She's mob boss, but they try to also in this moment it's supposed to be like, oh no, she's learning her husband is terrible. I'm like, she actively at all times will always say, I know he's terrible. I also like being in the mob. So,
amazing.
Oh, this is
but
something
she does believe Veronica.
This is something worth knowing. This is something worth knowing. We also learned in the last time on that, and I forgot about this, that Veronica got like $1 million settlement from whatever she did to Nick St. Clair, not crippling him because that was Hiram, and then Archie went.
That was Archie.
No, Hiram crippled him. Archie beat him
in
up.
A car accident.
Yes.
By
cripple, I also mean he broke.
I did see the beating up of Nick St. Clair.
Yes, Archie beat him up. And then Veronica did something that got her $1 million, and that was put into a trust fund until she was 21. Anyway,
didn't she have video of him?
I don't remember the specifics of how
sexually assaulting her.
How she did the turnaround thing or what. I don't know what was going on there.
Ringing a bell, Aaron. Yeah. I feel like I did watch this episode. That rings a bell.
But whatever it was, she got some millions of dollars. It's in a trust fund now. So we get some consoling. We see Betty still going through her whole stuff with my dad's a serial killer. What if I'm a serial killer? This is not quite full. Dark Betty is a thing yet. That is season 3. We've seen Dark Betty before because that was season 1 stuff. But this is just her being like. But
now we're learning why she's dark. She's dark because her dad was always a serial killer.
I would say.
And so she must also be inclined to do things and be Dark Betty.
I'm not sure if they're going.
Not just a sex thing. It's like.
No.
I'm not sure if they're going.
Stabbing and justice.
I'm not sure if they're going that way yet. Just because of and it's very small things about how it's written. I just don't know if I'm convincing myself it goes that way because we know it does go that way. But there are moments in here where it feels like they're going really heavy into her being like, how can I face the people after my family has done such terrible things to them? So
Kevin, there's 2 whole scenes. There's a scene where Hal tells her, "You were always my favorite because I always saw myself in you." And there's also the scene where she's with Archie and she's playing with the twins. And she was like, "Do you think that evil can be inherited? Because my great-grandfather was bad, a killer. And my grandfather was a killer. And my dad was a killer. And could this little baby I'm holding be a killer?" Come on.
When is that this season?
It was this episode.
There was this episode where I do not remember that scene happening with them where she talks about can this baby be a killer? I just don't remember that. I do remember Hannibal Lecter shouting at her from behind glass, but that's just what he does. I was mostly just trying to figure out what Hal's thing is because it's never been clear. No, I just missed that. All right, so we learned that FP got fired from Pops and he's drinking again. There's a big conversation between Jughead and FP. This is one of the scenes that I mentioned that if you take this scene out of context, it's just a good scene of 2 people who have wants and needs having their motivations clash. FP's like, "No, it is done. This sounds dangerous. I'm not gonna." I think he says I'm not going to stand over your body bag. And you're going to get out to Toledo, and Jughead's like, "No, we have to stay, and we have to help the serpent, and we have to fight to make this place better. And if you take out all of the context of knowing everything that's gone on around this scene and will happen, it's a good scene. Unfortunately, there is context.
The thing that immediately preceded this very, very good scene was Hermione going, wait, could my mob husband have done a mob hit on me? Perhaps I should tell my daughter that he wants to buy the entire South Side to do what we will subsequently learn is build a jail. We don't know this yet. He just wants to do something in the South Side. But he doesn't have the last piece he needs. The last piece, the white worm.
So technically that's later, but we can talk about that now if we want. I was talking about the scene where FP gets fired from Pops and he's drinking on the couch.
The white worm has the rest of the South Side.
We'll talk about the South Side plan is
immediately in the middle.
So, Sarah, the answer to your question is, I think at this point they don't know.
It's somewhere in the South Side.
He has a plan. At this point, we already know that he's building a prison there.
Yes.
It took him longer than probably they should have realized to also that prison needs to be a private for-profit prison. That's how it's bad. Because just like, I mean, you can talk about the prison industrial complex and all things like that, but like the state just it existing is not necessarily a bad thing. But no, yeah, in this scene, Hermione's like, he's consolidating into something. He's doing something down there, but there's one holdout, which is like the white worm.
Yeah.
I guess.
And then following this is skipping ahead, but you can tell where this is going if you know Veronica.
Yeah.
Veronica, a 16-year-old, will buy a bar.
Yes, of course.
So the way that she like does that is she goes and talks to her dad. She goes and talks to his dad, and for some reason she brings Mayor McCoy with her. She does not need to be there.
Mayor McCoy.
Yeah, because
it's muscle being like, you will give the girl her trust.
I can't. I cannot stress enough. What Betty's doing here is there's no legal precedent what she's doing. She's blackmailing him, because what she's saying is that if you don't give me the money, I will expose the whole thing with Papa Poutine and the fact you crippling Nick St. Clair. I think she mentions one other thing there. And because the honest truth is that that's not going to get him arrested, and I don't think she thinks it's going to get him arrested. No one did that. It's because the election's in 2 days, and it will mess up Hermione's chances if that's what she reveals. So there's no need for Mayor McCoy to sit there and be like, you will listen to her.
Kevin, a lawyer fixes everything, don't you know?
But I like how they take her there for Veronica to do something very illegal. Be like, I know all your crimes, so give me my money. Okay, all right, sure. I'm just gonna roll through some things quickly that I think happened somewhere in there. We do get Mayor McCoy saying that Fred needs a Southside vote. That's probably how he's going to win. We get this thing where from Minetta, who's the sheriff after Sheriff Keller, who's under the thumb of Hiram,
yes.
he claims. Here's the thing. Actually, when I look back on it, I think actually this might be true. The second
it is proved that.
Yeah.
Yes.
The second Black
Hood is Tall Boy.
Is tall. Is a Serpent gang member named Tall Boy, whose real name is Gerald Petite.
But Tall Boy is one of the only serpents who wants the serpents to deal drugs. The serpents, a gang, can't get messed up in that.
He got kicked out of the serpents because he wanted to do crime.
They're like a community group, really.
Yeah, but who's treated like a gang.
They're just like a really intense high school clique.
I mean, yes, in season 3, the only way they can exist is by pretending to be a Dungeons and Dragons group.
Yes, of course. Then we have Murder Dungeons and Dragons, which I didn't know was a thing until you told me about it. And I was trying to explain this to my brother the other day. I was like, yeah, apparently in Riverdale there was a Murder Dungeons and Dragons, and he went, what? And I said, no, I'm not joking.
The game compels you. It compels you to drink the liquid or make someone else drink the liquid.
It is so funny that they...
Tell me what the liquid does?
It's poison.
It kills you.
It's poison. It's cyanide.
It's poison.
Yeah. It's like cyanide or arsenic.
Come from? Who provides the liquid?
You do, because you played the game.
Yeah. The idea is that you have to choose. One chalice just has blue Kool-Aid, and one chalice has blue Kool-Aid and arsenic. And you pick the one, and if you're right, you ascend. I can't. Just jumping quickly to season 3. I can't get over that they did the Satanic Panic, a real thing where adults were like, or not just adults, but like people were like, Dungeons and Dragons is a devil worship and will lead these kids to kill themselves. And the show did it straight. Like they did it, they're like, yes, it will.
The game does do this.
Like,
the game is the villain, not the people in the town. Because this show is afraid of making the people in the town villains. Which
like you
except
could
for Hiram.
If this show, this goes back to my thing where like if this show is supposed to be campy and weird, cool, but it's never quite enough. Because yeah, you could in Riverona, we could definitely do that. There's an episode where yes, 100% legitimate. That is what it's doing, but because the rest of our show has so many parts where someone is like doing the wrong thing and we make it absolutely clear, but like the I mean, like we have just a bunch of things. People do bad things in the show, and that's like the point.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
nobody does anything bad.
But
nothing
like every time the character. No, but like also every time the characters talk about Rosalind and Romeo, they're like, "That's gross."
Yeah.
It's like balancing.
No one co-signs it.
It's like balancing out. Don't get me wrong, it's a hard thing to do. It's like doing something straight and still making it clear to the audience where you actually fall on that is fine. It's just so funny to me to do the Satanic Panic and just be like, yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
The game does actually make you want to kill yourself.
Exactly. In your real life, play Dungeons and Dragons. This is what will happen. There is no satire here. This is just, Dungeons and Dragons is bad.
Actually, it's fine because it's Griffins and Gargoyles.
Oh, pardon me.
I wanted a point in like, I don't know, episode 18 of season 3 where someone goes like, yeah, they were playing Griffins and Gargoyles and one of them died. And someone goes, do you mean Dungeons and Dragons? And they're like, no, it's a different game. This is Griffins and Gargoyles. It was invented in Insane Asylum. And because of that, it's evil.
It was invented by great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Betty Cooper, who had the serial killer gene, and therefore.
I invented by Penelope Blossom, Sarah. Also a serial killer.
While she was at the orphanage / insane asylum. The only implication is that this game was made by people who are mentally ill, so the game is evil, and that's not a good thing to put out into the world.
In fact, no.
Okay, Tallboy was the Black Hood. He died in a firefight. Clearly, he was just killed, and this is a cover-up.
Hiram.
Jughead will say it later. And we do get our first allusion to the farm, which is the cult in season 3.
Oh, right.
Going back to season 1, I'm pretty sure in season 1 also I have not checked. I really do think I should check this. I do think Polly and Jason were running off to a farm. And then
they were running off to a farm, and it is unclear if the farm that she subsequently went to was the same farm or if it was the cult.
I think it was. This is more of me thinking that I think they did another retcon, which this is a good case of a good retcon. They knew that these people said we are going off to a farm. And then they changed it to the farm and made it into a cult. Because they say that like this was where her and Jason were planning on going to, was this place. And I think that's great. That's a great bit of that. So we have
Sarah, just so you know, this farm is an organ stealing cult that is headed up by Chad Michael Murray.
I think he dresses like that at points in the show.
I think he does too.
That's kind of meta. Like,
it's amazing casting.
I mean, it's more of the like they did a lot of casting from like classic romance. Like, I mean, Luke Perry.
Molly Ringwald.
Mm-hmm.
So
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we get through all of the Southside stuff, and now I actually forgot that Cheryl was so Cheryl's like her mom learns that she got emancipated, and Cheryl's like, well, I'm going to go deliver food to the White Worm, where Tony is, and I forgot that they started dating in season 2. It happened so early on and was immediately terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they start dating before or after Tony rescues Cheryl from the asylum?
Oh no, they started dating before that. Because the reason she was sent to the asylum is because it was like
Conversion
a
camp.
straight conversion camp.
Yeah.
They only saved one person. Let the other gay kids out of there. Free them.
Yeah, honestly though, I was sitting there like, are we just leaving behind all of these other poor humans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Because we only care about Cheryl Blossom.
Yeah. So Cheryl does.
About anybody but Cheryl Blossom? I don't think. I don't know.
She likes to think she cares about Tony, but she only cares about Tony when Tony does exactly what Cheryl wants her to do, and never criticizes her. So Cheryl does at this point, once again, Cheryl learning something and telling other people. She learns from, I guess, her mother, because she's like, I'm going to the White Worm, and her mom's like, no, you shouldn't go
Don't go there.
Because, as Cheryl now relates to the people at the White Worm, Minetta, the sheriff, they're all going to raid the bar, and clearly they're going to raid it in such a way to provoke a fight that will allow them to probably kill as many serpents as they can. Yeah.
Have another riot night. So Jughead's going to go there. He's going to inspire the forces to come with him because him and his best friend Archie found a hideout for them on the north side.
We've been
hideout.
No, what he says is we've been offered sanctuary.
No, asylum. We've been offered asylum.
Yeah.
Asylum.
The way that they treat the South Side, like I understand the idea of, you have the bad part of town, but it's sometimes the South Side feels like it's a different city. Like it feels like it's got to be like how in Vancouver, the Greater Vancouver area, then you have like Port Coquitlam and Maple Ridge and all those things going down there, because sometimes it feels so separate, which is very weird for a small town.
Yeah, which is
when it really should just be like North Calgary versus South Calgary. They're the same.
Yeah, no, the vibe that I get very much is like that's what inspired the idea of Mantua and Riverona. Is like, oh yeah, it's really just like a neighborhood in Riverona, but everyone is like, oh my god, Mantua.
Yeah, honestly, there's a non-distinct chance that Mantua and Riverona are technically the same city. Like they have the same city council.
Yeah, kind of like Halifax and Dartmouth, where like Halifax and Dartmouth are like pretty much like it's the HRM, it's the Halifax Regional Municipality, and it includes, I'm gonna get this wrong, Halifax, Dartmouth, Bedford, and I always forget the fourth one. I'm so sorry to all of the Nova Scotians that may or may not watch this, did live in Halifax. I always forget the fourth one. I'm sorry, I didn't have a car, I didn't do a lot of driving. But Halifax and Dartmouth, like, one city, they're connected by a bridge and a ferry, but there is that sense of like, this is Halifax, that's Dartmouth.
Yeah.
Even though they're basically the same now, but they were different and distinct. It's just now they're kind of the same.
They've grown.
Yeah.
We get a pretty good.
That's the vibe, like Mantua and Riverona.
Yeah. We get a pretty good moment here, which is them sneaking across town, where they like go. All the serpents leave the White Worm, and then they're like hiding in back alleys and going across them. This has always felt weird for me. I think when we were doing our episode on it, I do think I went maybe a bit too hard into it's. So why are they sneaking around? Like I kind of get the idea. They're like, well, I mean, they're already doing a illegal legal a legal raid, but they're not going to do it in a like. It's already weird thing. So it might make sense to be like, also, let's just make sure the cops don't just spot us on the street.
I think the cognitive dissonance, though, Kevin, is that they are sneaking, which is reasonable.
Yeah.
But they're sneaking as a group of like 30 teenage boys.
It feels like
and we should have had like a West Side Story after the Rumble moment where they're all down like different alleys and stuff, and they're meeting up by a basketball net, and then they're going across the bridge.
It feels like they could have just been like, hey guys, so they're going to raid the White Worm. Let's all meet at the place
Archie's
and like
house?
Yeah, because that's where they're going to go to Archie's house, because that's how you get the South Side vote. But let's all just meet there in about an hour. You should all leave now, though. Maybe to take off the coats for a little bit, because at the point you're just people on a street.
Yeah.
Like they're coming to raid one building in, like, trying to get serpents. Don't get me wrong, they are trying to get the serpents.
Yeah.
But there's just a way to do this that is not a herd of 40 people walking together.
Totally.
And they do all sneak out of the south side wearing their serpent's jackets, which is important because Archie needs to see those serpent jackets the next day and go, wait, how many of those you have?
Oh, I mean, with considering the amount that they do, they don't just sneak out with the serpent classes. I think they also take like a storage crate. There are so many. They have a lot of serpent jackets. They have a lot of them.
They bought them in bulk in the 1960s, and they're just like running out.
But why does
because
jackets there are?
Oh, it matters how many jackets there are because, Sarah, you don't know this, but all of the serpents, all of the kids from the south side are going to be transferred to a different high school because of class warfare. Archie is going to make everyone in town.
On one of the other episodes.
Oh, he's going to make everyone a serpent. Yeah. Can't be transferred.
Yes.
Well, it's more of that as a bit of a, like, you know, a stand. Everyone in the school puts on a serpent jacket to be like, hey, we want the Southsiders to stay.
Yeah.
You know, or if the Southsiders leave, we're all walking out. And he's like, well, if you walk out, you're going to get expelled. And they're like, okay, fine. And he's like,
okay, expel all of us.
He gives them a pretty good get to class, which
literally get to class.
Get to class.
Oh my god!
Because when you're a principal, that's the only thing you can say.
Yeah, that's your like ace in the hole is get to class.
So now we go into potentially the funniest sequence of events that was funny when it happened and is funnier now in the grand scheme of things.
But we know
Veronica
more.
does let Jughead know that Veronica lets Jughead know, hey, my dad is trying to buy the White Worm to do something. Some big evil thing that my mom had to warn me about in the South Side. Jughead says,
don't worry, a 16-year-old girl, buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we'll get there because what cues her to do this is that Jughead goes, yeah, also he fired my dad from Pop Tate's, and then Veronica goes, he did? Well, hold on a second.
Should I a 16-year-old girl, buy the White Worm, or what if we got back at my dad by buying Pop Tate's?
So,
because he fired your dad.
Yeah, okay. So, how to explain this sequence of events? So, it kicks off immediately with something that doesn't make any sense. Veronica, a 16-year-old girl, buys a bar.
Yeah.
I'm not. Maybe at the time I looked up. I think maybe you can, because she's not emancipated. That's Shell's emancipated. I think maybe you can own a bar if you're underage. You just can't drink there or go there. I don't know if you
looked up if you could buy a business. We just couldn't figure out the bar piece. I think that was.
Yeah, it's
kind of Lassie rules, or not Lassie. It's Airbud rules. There's no rule that says a 16-year-old can't own a bar.
That's definitely not. That's definitely not how property ownership works. But you know, the here's the thing. We're just gonna have to do the right Skywalker way of doing this. Somehow, Veronica buys a bar. We just have to accept that happened.
Yeah.
So she buys the bar, like, literally just before Chaim arrives there, I guess, to give another wing at trying to get this guy to sell the bar. Once again, the person she just bought the bar from has been refusing to sell the bar to Hiram. And this is Hiram's daughter, so she must have said something real good. Because it's definitely not the money. It's not the money. Yeah, maybe she promised she wouldn't sell it to her dad. So, Veronica did that, and then Hiram arrives, and then she tells him that she owns the bar, and then she says she realized, because of how callously he fired FP, that Pops is the one place in town that her friends can call their own. So, despite knowing that this is the only thing that Hiram wants. Whatever Hiram's big plan has been going on even for this entire season. getting Hermione as mayor, this plan actually continues on technically to the end of the
From season one.
Yeah, I mean, he
And
wasn't in season one, but he was starting to do things in season one, yeah.
But his character was buying things from prison in season one. This is the only thing Riverdale has ever carried forward.
Yeah, this is like his main thing. The only thing standing in his way is he does not have the white worm. Veronica says, I will trade you for it. That is bad enough as anyways, because I'm gonna be there's no way. The thing is that Pops is, as we learn later, a community standpoint, so he can't do anything to Pops, and also teenage stuff. Like,
but Sarah, the face you're making, this is Veronica thinking she's stopping. If Veronica has Benvolio, this has Benvolio thinking he's stopping Lady Capulet.
Yeah, I don't know what Veronica actually thinks she's doing here, because
I think that, like, a little bit of my faith in humanity just died.
The problem
hearing that was the plot point that they went with.
The thing is, like, they could almost make it, and I remember this being the time, obviously we didn't watch the rest of the season, they could almost make it work, but they would have to have put so much more work into it. They would have had to make it so clear that it is between Pops and the what, like, they had to make it, they had to raise the stakes so much, or they had to really, I guess, just have us be like, oh, it's Veronica being a teenager, but they always treat her like an adult. This has been her mob season. She has done mob stuff this season.
I think we were supposed to buy in that she made the right choice, because later in the series.
No, he's in the series. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, later in the series, they will reveal to us that she did not make the right choice, but not for the reason that we currently think she didn't.
So, okay. So that is bad enough as it is. So we already agree this trade kind of sucks. Then Hiram Lodge says, fine, but if we do this trade, I'm cutting you off. No allowance, no support, no, like he's like, I'm fully like cutting you off.
You'll lose you're removed from the board.
Yeah. So
Lodge Industries.
So in this deal,
you lose your vote.
So in this deal, not only does Hiram get everything he wants from the South Side, he gets full voting, because Hermione, and Veronica have the 3 votes on the council. If he gets Veronica's vote, he can always outvote Hermione. So he gets ownership, predominant ownership of his company. He gets full voting power. He gets the south side of town to do his plan. And that is like the deal. Like, once again, this is the only thing he wants. And Veronica, who's supposed to be like the great businesswoman, this is the worst deal imaginable. He doesn't have Pops.
On a board
he doesn't have Pop Tates.
Company.
Yes, also a 16-year-old should not be on the board of a multi-million-dollar company.
No. At this point, we just kind of have to accept that that's the case. I think actually, no, here's the thing. They are rich enough and weird enough that I bet they could find a lawyer to be like, well, technically, because of the way that we did this, we made it like, you could probably make a dog a owner of a company if the shareholders accept it. And it's not a shareholder company. They just, the 3 of them own it.
Who's Ducket's dog?
Oh, yeah, a hot dog.
Can Hot Dog be on the board? Hot Dog for Mayor of Riverdale.
If it's a private company, I think there's a lot of things you could do, because they're just like, sure, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, and we can at least one human is there somewhere, maybe. I don't know. I'm not this person.
And fixes everything. That's what I would like to believe.
So this deal
here's
sucks.
The thing that we will. Oh, sorry, you go first, Kevin.
This deal
you're building. You're building.
Yeah, sucks so bad. Hiram gets everything he wants. He gets his business. He gets... Literally, it puts Veronica in a worse place in every way imaginable. She can no longer fight him at the business. She can't, she doesn't obviously have the white worm to hold over him. And he just is no longer the owner of Pops. He's no longer the owner of Pops. He just has to sell Pops. Aaron?
Well, it turns out that he gives Veronica fake paperwork, and he never actually signed the business over to her.
Yeah, no.
Genius businesswoman Veronica Lodge never figures that out.
Yeah, he tricks her.
He tells her.
Yeah, he doesn't actually tell her the business.
He tricks her.
He just gets so he literally gets everything. He literally gets everything in this moment. And Veronica gets nothing. And They don't even get a. I would not argue they even get a spiritual victory, because from this point in the series, I do not think Pops was that big of a deal. Like, I do think it was Pops. It was a great place for them, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's only later where they're like, it is the spiritual center of town,
Yeah.
because you get a bit of it.
The show got too excited about the secret speakeasy underneath it.
We'll get to that. It just, like, because at the beginning, after Fred is shot in Pops, everyone's kind of like, oh, I don't really want to go there. That's the place where people get shot. So you get some.
But then
Pop
they save
stuff.
it. They sing on the roof because it's the secret. It's the sacred heart of the town.
Yeah,
it's there.
They just needed to push the Pop stuff so much more. I think even in this episode, they needed to push the Pop stuff so much more. So when this deal sucks in every single way. It's the worst deal I've ever seen. It's
Pop. Every episode I've ever seen that takes place in Pops, where they drink the milkshakes, I have sat and thought to myself, man, that looks like a damn good milkshake. Like, that looks like the kind of milkshake that I would make really stupid decisions for. So I'm sure maybe the milkshakes at Pops are just really magical.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why I'm like, you could have done this right. You could absolutely could have. You could have made it that this is the right decision, but like, it just being absolutely and also the fact that
making her being tricked, that's crappy.
Yeah,
like, that's not a great thing to do a season and a half later.
Yeah, to take it away. When you extrapolate out, also the problem is that she, in many ways, betrayed her mom, who I don't really care. Hermione sucks. She betrayed Hermione because Hermione trusted her with that information. She, this is not honestly canonical. You don't know if it's true. I feel like she betrayed the owner of the White Worm, who was he has not been selling it to Hiram. They're the one holdout, and then she buys it and immediately sells it to him. Like, that feels sucky. I feel like, I mean, I guess maybe she talked about Jughead with it beforehand, but like,
she betrays the entire South Side. Let's be real. It
does feel like she betrays the entire South Side. She gives up the last bastion on the South Side. They left because there was going to be one raid. There's no reason there's nothing saying they couldn't go back once they dealt with the Minetta situation.
And now they have to live in Archie's backyard.
Or in a van by the river.
Because that is where Jughead lives.
All right, we're going to, I think, speed through a bunch of things. Betty and Jughead talk about sadness and killers. We get the vote. We do get Betty's Silence of the Lambs moment, where we get Hal just shouting at her, "I will always be with you, Betty." Once again, I do not understand Hal's thing. I guess he just really wants to have a protege serial killer.
Which he gets.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget, he actually has that, we found out. But anyway, Archie wins as student council president. Amazing. But will Fred Andrews win? We won't find out. First, we have to do a dumb scene.
The South Side is staying. The South Side is staying. That's clear.
Yes, we have to do a dumb scene where we find out the South Side is staying. FP is going to resign as the leader of the adult gang and put his son in charge. And then the first act will be to give Cheryl a special red serpent jacket because she warned them the raid was happening. Even though Veronica also knew the raid was happening. From Hermione.
When did she learn the raid was happening?
I thought she knew, but you know what? It's not that.
No, once again, Cheryl gives two people two separate different informations. There's some repeating scenes in this. I mean, here's what I'm gonna say. Also, a lot of their membership was, they've lost a lot of their membership. I think I might have said it was weird when we were looking at the time. I think it's fine to give Cheryl a serpent. The serpents at this point are just teens, or at least the Riverdale serpents. I think it's
weird they got her a special red jacket.
That is the weird point. That is the weird point. Why did she get a special jacket? I guess Tony pushed for it, because Tony...
maybe it's an honorary jacket. Like, when you get an honorary doctorate from a university, they give you a different weird hat to wear. It's like that.
So in case you're curious, Sarah, about a little bit of the future of this. So yes, Cheryl is a serpent for a while. Also, I want to clarify. I don't think... was there a lot of people who were really like, wow, Cheryl's a serpent. What a crazy thing. Like, don't worry about it. It was crazy, but they gave it a bit of gravitas I don't think it needed. Later on, Tony, who is like serpent from birth, Like before the serpents were the serpents, like her family was the serpents essentially. That's what I landed on, by the way, Aaron, is that there are the indigenous serpents, and then there is like the modern serpents, because FP in the scene says 60 years ago there was the first meeting of the serpents. So I think there are just two different kinds of serpents.
So, Sarah, sometimes the show thinks that the serpents are a gang that rose out of an indigenous band that was basically all murdered by white settlers.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a bike gang.
Yeah, it's unclear.
That's not.
Sometimes in the same season, it happens.
Yeah. Sometimes Tony is a descendant of this indigenous band that led to be the gang. And sometimes she is canonically a Black American woman who was fighting for her rights in the 1950s.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that Tony's heritage changes is very interesting. So just to summarize very, very quickly, in like season 3, at a certain point, there's a lockdown over the town, and Jughead is like, "Hey guys, we got a lot of pressure on us. No crimes." And Cheryl, a perpetually rich person,
does crimes.
And
Tony
convinces her and her girlfriend to just do crimes. Like they rob from rich people,
for
but
fun.
That's besides the point.
Really fun.
Yeah, Robin Hooding.
But like Jughead was like, I don't want anyone to do crimes. And Jughead has his own things that's going on about it.
Yeah.
But still, just Cheryl getting her, and then they get kicked out of the gang. Cheryl gets her girlfriend kicked out of the gang. Out of the gang. It's bad. Okay, Betty talks to her mom. She talks to Hal, and her big arc this episode is that she is comfortable enough now to go back to school. Good for her.
Okay. Good for her.
Fred.
Meanwhile, we find out that Fred did not win mayor. Hermione did.
Yeah.
And Archie takes the opportunity to go see Hiram, Hermione's husband, and threaten him.
Yeah, Hermione comes to shake Fred's hand, which is entirely set up so that Hiram would be alone. And yeah, Archie, once again, a good intense scene until you remember the context, everything around it. That Archie joined the mob. He like literally just joined the mob and became mob guy for a while, because first a fake FBI agent was trying to flip him on.
That was actually Hermione's capo.
Yeah, so
so Archie threatens Hiram, which is a super good choice when the person who has all the power continues to have all the power.
I mean, I would say it's pretty good. Archie threatens him with justice, by the way. He doesn't he has the knife there, because... but he's like, I will find a way to I will expose you. I will bring you I will bring you to justice, essentially.
This is after the red circle, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Because the red circle was done in response to the Black Hood.
Yes, and of course there is no more red circle once the Black Hood is gone, because why would they?
No, they stopped earlier than that. There's once it
they
became
stopped
clear,
after they fought against the South Side.
Once it became clear, once Archie figured out that he made an actual gang, because remember they were just like attacking Southsiders. So Archie made like just he gave a bunch of privileged guys a chance to attack poor people.
Attack a minority.
So that was cut out soon. Veronica talked to the speakeasy in the basement. We didn't talk about this a lot because we learned about it earlier on, and then it just becomes a thing that's accepted. This was a small mining town. Why did it have a speakeasy?
Why did it have a secret speakeasy? Well, I guess prohibition happened even in mining towns.
I know they did. No, I agree with they did. It's not that I don't think that. It's that I'm not sure if she's like, oh, it was like flapper girls performances. I'm like, that feels like a big city thing. I think in small towns they just like moonshine ran, right? This feels like moonshining.
Because they were like a big-ish town after their mining stuff. Which then crashed.
This goes into the history of Riverdale is very weird, and in one version of the town, they also killed a wizard.
Okay, but we're also not paying enough attention to the fact that following Veronica talking about the secret speakeasy, we get to see the League of Stupid Evil for the first time.
I wasn't forgetting that. I was leading up to it.
What?
Sarah, the League of Stupid Evil is a collection.
Is there acronym?
Nope. That is our name for it.
We called them that because they're stupid.
We called them that. So
they're trying to be evil.
Yeah, and none of the things they do make sense. Now, most notably, this is the League. The League of Stupid Evil is a collection, an Avengers style collection of all the disparate bad people we've met over the season. Obviously, it is
They're led by Hiram Lodge.
Tony Stark, Hiram Lodge, who has the money. Then there's also there, who he does not speak in this scene though, is Mineta, because he is the sheriff. Then we have Claudius.
Power.
Claudius will run his drugs through the prison that at multiple times is either built or not built. I never know where it exists, when it exists, and what times it exists in.
And the drugs are heroin. Canonically heroin.
Yes. They'll stop mentioning it's heroin after season 1, but they do mention season 1 is heroin. So Claudius will run his drugs through the prison. That's how they'll make the drugs. Then Malachi, who is the leader of the Ghoulies, his Ghoulies would be the soldiers on the street, both selling the drugs and also like being the soldiers there. Then you have Penny Peabody, who is troubleshooting. Because she's a lawyer, I guess.
She was in charge of the serpents, but the serpents all been run out of town.
She was never in charge of the serpents. She was a lawyer that worked with the serpents. She was called the Snake Charmer.
Didn't she briefly take them over for like half an episode?
No, I think she just
she was leading them at one point. I think.
No, she worked
and
with
they were like,
Tallboy.
wait, she wants to do crime.
No, she worked with Tallboy. Yeah. And then
I think she was getting like a group behind her, and then that's why Jughead took off the pound of skin. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. So then you might be thinking there's one left in there because we do have Penelope Blossom there. Now
she's known to be bad.
So Penelope Blossom, up until this point, we've seen her. She's mostly just been like bad mom. It honestly in the first season didn't seem like she knew that her husband was running drugs, or she knew he was running drugs but didn't know that he killed. She definitely didn't know he killed Jason.
I fucking forgot about that.
Yeah, sorry, but I don't know if she knew. I can't remember if she knew about the running drugs thing. She definitely knows Claudius is doing it, and now she's involved in it. But Penelope, who has been kind of fading, like who knows what she wants to do, she has decided out of. I cannot stress this enough, Sarah. Nowhere. That she wants to open a brothel.
Oh, fuck. Right.
And the way
that's what she will do in this town they create.
The way it is brought up when Hiram goes, hey, you're doing this, and you're doing this, and you're doing this. Penelope goes, and you said I could open a brothel. And he goes, yeah, also that'll also happen. She doesn't it kind of feel... It feels like she's there because they're meeting at the barn near her house, right? That's why she's there.
She provided the barn.
She's there because she's
the barn
hosting.
She lives in, Kevin. She lives in that barn. Remember, Cheryl told us that.
Her and Claudius lived
there.
Why
did she live in the barn?
Well, because she got kicked out of her
Cheryl
house.
got emancipated.
Yeah, she sent Cheryl to. Remember, she sent Cheryl to the straight conversion camp, and then they learned that Nana Rose, who was actually the one who owned. Like, Nana Rose actually owns all of the land they live on. They've been drugging her or poisoning her.
Oh, right.
That has made her kind of non-lucid. So now she is lucid again, and so now she has reclaimed her position. Cheryl is her ward now, and Penelope wants to open a brothel. Okay. She was doing some form. No. What happened was that Hal stayed over at her place for a little bit, sleeping with her, and then
she was a prostitute. No, because they were poor.
Aaron.
Oh, right.
Hal was staying with her, and then Cheryl called her a prostitute, and then she started doing prostitution. Cheryl, that is the order of events, is that she slept with Hal, heard the word prostitute from Cheryl, and went, that's a great idea. That is going to be my brand.
Yeah.
And now she wants to own a brothel. She's moving up in the world.
And guess what? She will. She will.
She will own that brothel. So the League of Stupid Evil, we've met them. We know they're evil. So what is the first thing they're going to do? What is the first thing they're going to do?
Well, they wonder, hey, how are we, with all of our power as the League of Stupid Evil, how are we going to deal with your daughter and her meddling friends? And Hiram's like, don't worry, I'll unravel the glue of this friend group. Also, what I think he says in his head is also deal with someone that I personally hate. You need to know this, Sarah. The League of Stupid Evil never does anything. That is why it's the League of Stupid Evil.
Hiram will do lots of things on his own, but the League will achieve nothing as a group.
I'm not certain the next time we see Malachi or Penny. We do see them, but I do not know the next time we... Malachi doesn't even talk in this scene.
Jesus Christ.
The only reason I know his name is because his name's Malachi.
So what can they do? How can this League really make its mark? How can they melt this glue? Well, earlier in the season, Archie shouted to Hiram that he killed a boy to threaten Hiram, to make Hiram nervous.
Yeah,
and Hiram will take that dumb confession and get Archie arrested for murder.
Oh, right.
Oh, no.
And Archie goes to jail and then is like, you have never understood the epic highs and lows of high school football. Because that... And then there's the jailhouse rock bit.
That does lead to that. Yeah, when he was threatening...
Who do you want when you've got dance sequences?
I'll give you the, if you'd like, sorry, I can give you the context for that. So, at a certain point, there's a guy named Big Poutine, and
Papa
also
Poutine.
Papa Poutine, and his son Small Fry.
Little Fry.
I'm pretty sure it's Small Fry. He's a big man. I think it might be a little Fry, doesn't it? But it's Papa Poutine. Papa Poutine is from Montreal. He's also just a part of this mafia. But when Archie was like started dating Veronica and trying to get into Hiram's good graces, he joins the mob, and then Papa Poutine is insulting him because he's like a teenager, and he's like, no, I killed a boy in Shadow Lake, and then that you would have heard in this scene, anyone who watched it would have heard him. He essentially reminds both Hiram and the audience, like, Hiram, I'll expose your crimes because I know that you did this. You told the Black Hood to try to attack my dad. You attacked my friends. You had your people kill that boy, Shadow Lake. What was his name? Cassidy. He has to say Cassidy so everyone will remember when he says it later who it is. But it does feel like it's just in that scene, Hiram goes, okay, well, one of those things I can probably do something with. And then he decides to, of course, frame Archie for that. Frame in the most basic way. He essentially just says, well, that boy clearly killed that boy. And then Minetta, being the sheriff who is owned by Hiram, goes, yeah, he said he did it. I can't remember what the exact evidence comes up. It's very bad evidence because we learn later that the reason he actually goes to prison is because he feels like he deserves to be in prison.
Oh, right.
He's done bad things.
So he doesn't really fight against the
he's like, yeah, go to jail.
Yeah, so he's like, no, I should be in here for another because that for Aaron, that kicked off a long-standing thing that comes up so many times. There's one of at least my pet peeves. I think you agree with it as well. I don't like people who are like, no, I deserve to undergo this societal form of justice because I personally believe something else is the reason why. Especially in the case where it's like, well, if you do that, then the actual person who did it gets away with it. Like you're not actually creating any sort of karmatic balance. Unless if you think later that person will also make the same decision you did to go to prison or something else.
I mean, I will say, in the case of Riverdale, I do think the man who did the murder is in fact dead. But
not yet, but he will be.
Aside from that, this is like a massive teen drama trope. Like this appears in pretty much all of them.
Yeah, and I think like it's very funny because it's one of these where I only ever call it a pet peeve because I actually think it's a fine storyline because emotion should be emotional. They should make you do things. But I think everyone has these. For me, it is one of those things where I'm like, I understand the story element of this, and I understand the use of it, and I think it's actually a very good way, like good use of someone's emotions. But it always bugs me because it always feels like conflating like societal ramifications and I don't know. It's something that's always bugged me, and it will always will bug me. But I'll also just accept it whenever it appears in anything. Yeah.
Big trope, big trope, and Riverdale is nothing but doing every single trope numerous times.
So Sarah, what do you think? Do you think you're gonna go back and watch the rest of Riverdale?
I think actually I might be good. I feel like really caught up now, and I feel like I've got it. No,
I have said that I think if this series did season 1, season 6, and season 7, it would be a lot more fun because season 1, gritty, dark, murder mystery. Season 6, everyone has superpowers. Season 7, they travel back in time and now it's like a 1950s pastiche. I'm like, okay, that is very clearly a kind of goofy it feels like a comic book series where you're going to different things. But to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all kind of have similar gritty crime vibes is where
superpowers.
That's where the dissonance comes up for me. Is that if they had not done all those things in between, then when in 6 you suddenly pivot to superpowers, because I think that's super dumb and fun, and this show can be super dumb and fun. But you have all these seasons in the middle of you doing serious things.
I think we cannot forget that this show created a canon in which a board game compels people to do murders and or suicides without magic. And then later there is magic.
Yes, yeah.
But there wasn't magic then.
The 3 has a lot of... 3 stands out very aggressively because 3 feels like... 3 has a lot of elements of what I would say like True Detective. Have you ever seen that? Where it is not magic, there's not fantasy, there's not magical stuff going on, but it feels that way. Same thing with like Scooby-Doo, in everything except for the Scooby-Doo movies. It's always supposed to be like, oh, there's a monster and all these things, and oh, there's magic going on. Oh, actually, it was all explainable. Except for 3 doesn't explain the game. It just does kill. It just somehow the game, playing this game will eventually get you so involved that you'll want to kill yourself.
Because that tracks.
Yeah, and then like the rest of stuff, they're like, oh, it's hallucinations. It wasn't magic. And then there's just magic. It just is.
All of that to say, or sorry, you go.
I want to summarize one thing up because so we can kind of wrap this stream up a bit and maybe get a bit more of Sarah's last thoughts as the one who's listening and
the one who hasn't seen this and is like kind of getting all of this secondhand.
I was thinking about in season 6 with the big bad in season 6, the fact that it has a big bad is very funny, which is the wizard man. What's his name? Pickens was his first name.
Percival Pickens.
Percival Pickens. Okay. Percival Pickens. This says so much about the show, but I don't know what it says, but it says so much. Percival Pickens' motivation, Sarah, so you know this, was he wants to destroy Riverdale because Rivervale kicked him out of...
A different town in a pocket dimension.
Yes, in an alternate dimension, their ancestors tried to kill him. He didn't fully die. They did something to like...
He made a deal with the devil.
I can't remember. It's weird. I can't remember the specifics, but they just greatly wronged him. That's all you need to know. The specifics actually don't super matter. They greatly wronged him. So the ancestors of these people in a different dimension greatly wronged him. So when he came to this dimension, which doesn't have magic and is a different dimension with not even the same name of the town, it's Rivervale in the other world and Riverdale in this world, essentially looked at the town and said, I don't know, close enough, I guess. Like, that's... What is that?
I have a need for revenge. Can't get it. But you
And
know what? I will settle for this.
What the reason it came up specifically, out of the reason why I'm saying this, is because I was thinking about all the motivations in this episode, and I'm like, you know what? For a majority of them, I do get where they're coming from. I get their things. There's not a huge
this one
jump. Even Veronica deciding to like sell,
give
like
everything
the trade to Pops. I can get it. I think it doesn't work. I still think it's not good, but like I could kind of get it.
Cool.
But man, it really does. Things really do go off the rails as the years move on. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say all that to say that when we do that in Riverona, it's on purpose.
Yeah.
We obviously understand why it's bad.
Yeah. Like
and we're making commentary.
Yeah. It's tough because this show is consistently always so close to being like, if you had just leaned further into being weird, campy, trash, with like Riverona leans into that a lot, where we have things where it's like, this is done with absolute sincerity, but that sincerity is the joke of it. And because there are other jokes around it, you get that. Riverdale doesn't have that. This was before you joined us, Sarah, but we mentioned that sometimes they will also take on very, very heavy subject matter completely straight, right paired up to episodes like, like this, where a man behind a Hannibal Lecter plastic sheet shouts at his daughter that she will be like him. He is the voice in her head.
Here's the thing. Maybe we are wrong. Because if this had gone to pure camp, just pure nonsense, it would have been Scream Queens and it would have ran for 2 seasons. Riverdale ran for 7 seasons. So what do we know?
I'm not sure tenacity is always a indicator of worth. It's got to be my summary there. Sarah, would you like to have any sort of summary?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, is for whatever reason, shows that do lean into this kind of commentary and are clever and are funny, for whatever reason, they get canceled really fast. Like, they don't have the same staying power. And I feel like what ended up happening with Riverdale was people continued to watch it because it was bad. Like, they were hate watching it. It's kind of the same reason that we watch reality TV a lot of the time. Not all reality TV is like this. But it's that thing of like, oh, I hate this so much. This is so bad that I must continue to watch it so that I can hate it. It's an interesting complex to me. That like stuff that is bad is successful because it's bad.
Yeah, and having to, and like, I mean, we're not exempt from that. We did, we talked about it every year for seven seasons. We were one of the people who was watching it, and it's hard to like. If it was good, I mean, if it was good, we might have kept watching it in different ways. If it was talking a little bit about my overall arcing of thoughts of like, at least the attention I was bringing to writing in Riverona is to create something that embraces so much of the wild, like the wildness of Riverdale, but on purpose, which is really, really hard. It's the same thing with like when you talk about like bad movies, like The Room. The Room only works because it was done in earnestness. So when you watch things like, I mean, obviously Sharknado was successful for a bit, but like as time got on, it got a bit more like meta. And there's a for every Sharknado, there's a million other sci-fi winking at the camera, campy. Like, we get that we're a bad thing. That didn't work. It's a very precise formula, and that, at least for me, was a lot of what I was trying to push with when on my side of the 5 people writing Riverona's trying to get like, can we have that level of, can you believe this character did this while still being in on the
being
joke.
like, but we know they did it.
Well,
and it kind of becomes like a snake eating its own tail thing, right?
Yeah.
So if we weren't doing the podcast, telling people about all the nonsense that was happening on Riverona, on Riverdale, people wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
To then go and hate watch the nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did perpetuate the cycle.
Yeah.
But with Riverona, we know.
Yeah.
We know the characters are doing deplorable things. I would argue that no one in this show is traditionally likable.
I think we have some likable people, but you have to get through things with them. You have to, because like I think Benvolio is likable, but you do have to deal with the fact that also Benvolio is also aggressively weird at times.
A lot of ways, and this is gonna sound narcissistic, but it's not intended that way. I would say, like, in terms of like teen drama tropes, Mercutio is like a traditionally likable character, not because Mercutio is like a good person, but because Mercutio fills like this niche of like there is no female equivalent of this, but like the sexy bad boy who
balloons appear.
Oh my god.
Sarah's historically had something about your Discord settings. You have like some motion based things. You made hearts before in another one.
Yeah. I don't know how I did this.
You made a heart. You made a heart shape, and I think you made a hearts.
Let's see if I can do it again.
Maybe. I think the thing with Riverona though is we take these there it is.
Yep.
We take those likable tropes and then we make those tropes in our show.
Yeah.
Not likable, but then they're like likable again because it's funny, right?
Yeah, because like Mercutio, Benvolio, Romeo, a lot of the characters exist as like this character is a character you would like, but we do the little things that make them that can make them unlikable. Mercutio's a bit too mean to people, and also Mercutio's potentially murdered people.
And maybe a vampire, who knows?
That was kind of in on it.
That
was kind of in on it. The Romeo is actually a very nice one of that, because Romeo has a lot of the auspices of being the leading character, but we've enhanced such aspects of him. Like we've enhanced all of the worst parts of that character. He's selfish. He's self-involved. He's like unaware of other people's feelings. Even Juliet falls into a lot of those things where her and Romeo have a lot of very similar traits of being like a bit self-involved, a bit unaware of what's going on, and so we take characters that can have good things about them and ruin them. And even sometimes when we give bad characters and give them the good moment, because the OC Julie Cooper, she's a bad person, but she has enough moments, and they craft them so well that you're like, yeah, but we get it. She's fun to watch, and I still feel bad when bad things happen to her. And then with Lady, she'll have moments, but we'll like pull the rug out from underneath them so much.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, this is gonna be the moment that they're a good person.
This is a moment, and then it's like, and it's ruined. Never mind.
For me, a moment that's in episode 1. So obviously, if people have seen it, they've seen it. That I think translates that so obviously is actually for Montague, which is the beginning before Montague goes off on his unhinged monologue, where he goes, Romeo, I just want to let you know I'm disappointed by you and everything that you do, because that is a setup for like he's about to have like he's a tough dad. We know he's a tough dad, but he cares for his son.
I've been tough on you because
I just want you to know I'm not
you.
But no, he's just like, I hate you. Why aren't you better? And I love those. I love those moments where we subvert those expectations and just like pull the rug out between what you think is going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it works as well as it does, because for so much of Riverona, we follow the tropes. It's like, oh, we've seen this before. We know exactly how this is going to end. And then you have those little moments of like, just kidding.
Yeah, you can't subvert tropes without utilizing said tropes and understanding you are utilizing said tropes. We are doing the romantic relationship between a student and a teacher, and even if we have even if we are being like clear like this is inappropriate, we do still have to lean into like some aspects of quote unquote titillation of the taboo of it, because the only way we can land the pull away is to show it as it is shown in these shows. Yeah.
And then you have the moment in episode 1 where after you've like done all of that with like Romeo and Rosaline, where you get to the party and Mercutio goes, Romeo slept with a teacher, which like, you know, most students would be, oh my God, you slept with a teacher in like teen drama world. And instead, Romeo's like, what, you're going to tell me that's inappropriate? And they're like, yes, it's bad.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good sequence in 1. I'm excited. I think I've said this before. I'm excited for how 1 is. If anybody has seen the what do you call it, the common ground
workshop
or the
remount?
the workshop and the remount, the workshop and the workshop remount of it. It is in a very it's in such an interesting place change since those, so I think it'll be very fun. Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. Thank you, Aaron and me, for talking about Riverdale for
again.
So, in case I think I mentioned it when I was giving kind of like the brief on what we were doing this episode. But yeah, so we randomly rolled up the episode, Sarah. So we did pick this one on purpose, but we happened to get the season 2 finale, which was lots of stuff. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. Okay, well. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for joining us. We have one more stream before the show starts. We have one more stream to go, and then all hell breaks loose, I guess.
Riverona, here we come.
Riverona, here we come.
Riverona, here we come.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Kill your dead or not.